right. So I've enabled the recording. So let's get started with Network Configuration Manager. Now, the primary functionality of Network Configuration Manager is to take backup of the configurations that you have did in your network devices like switch, router, etc. So wherever there are options where we can connect via CLI, we would be able to take the configuration backup. So once the backup is taken, there are other core functionalities in Network Configuration Manager which will help you to manage the network devices. And there are other additional features available under NCM module that will help you to proactively monitor the configuration done in the devices. Now, so adding the device is pretty much straightforward. So you do have an option where you can add the device in NCM. So there are options in Op Manager also. So during the discovery itself, if you want to put or add the device under NCM, there are options which you can do it. Okay, but let me first talk about the network discovery that are available under NCM module. So there are three types. One is individual host or based on IP range, and CSV file import. And of course, you need to provide the credential. So here we use SNMP V1, V2, and V3 only for getting the device details or information, I would say. Okay, but not to take backup. In order to take backup, we have different credentials that we require. For example, if I go to this device, we have an option where you can change the credential in the device. So if I click on any of the options, so you do have an information about the device, and we support like SSH, like that is CLI connection, SSH telnet connection to connect and then pull the information out of the device. And if you see the SNMP part, what we use it for is the system description, contact details, and then you have other information pertaining to the devices. We will able to pull it from the SNMP credential. Okay, so SNMP is required to pull the system description and other information based on SNMP. And the configuration backup, since we have to connect and then execute certain commands in the device, we require a CLI or telnet. So those connections are required for us to take the backup. So the first point which we are going to talk about is the backup that we take from the end devices. So once the credentials are associated to the device, that is CLI credentials, we will take the backup. And as soon as the backup is taken, we will match with the backup already stored in our database. And if there are any conflict detected, like if there are any changes made in the device recently, we will raise a flag stating that there are conflict detected. Okay, so the first one is, like if you see here, the left hand side is the backup that we already took, and we store it in a format of version number. It will be in incremental format. So if you want to compare it with the previous versions, then you do have an option to select it. So both startup and running configuration, so these two configuration, we can compare it from the device. So left hand side are the backup that we have stored in our database, and the right hand side are the one that we took the backup recently, and if conflict is detected, we raise a flag. So here you can see the the modification or deleted content or added content, or diff only, you can select it out and filter it. Okay, now to take the backup, there are options. For example, if you go to this specific device, there is an option where you can run the backup manually, or you can schedule the backup like daily, weekly. So based on the schedule, you can take the backup. So we have that option available under NCM. And the third option that we have is based on real-time change detection. So that is done based on syslog. So once you enable the syslog and integrate with NCM, if we have received a syslog rule stating that some changes were made. So you will be writing out some rules, and based on that we have an option where we trigger the backup based on real-time change detection. Okay, so there are three options. One is manual backup, and the other one is uh, schedule backup, and then the third one is the real-time change detection module. So that's how the three option work with the NCM tool. So as I stated in my earlier session, in case if you have any questions, please feel free to put it in the chat box. I'll consolidate and answer it. Okay, so let me proceed. So here we have the inventory tab where the list of devices are shown, and you have a donut views to filter certain type of devices. And here we show the operations, conflict details, compliance status, etc. In this page. So from this page also you have an option where you can add the device and do some search or filter operations in this particular page. So under config automation, this is one module within NCM where you have different templates available, just like what we saw in Op Manager. The purpose of device template is that the NCM module will take a backup, and if there are any violation detected, we will raise a flag. However, the other core functionalities in NCM module is that in case if there are if you want to push any commands to the network devices, you have an option to do it from NCM tool itself. So there are different templates available. For example, CLI based and REST API based. So here is the option in case if you want to enable change detection based on syslog. We have an option where you can add the change detection module depending on the pattern or regex pattern that you have, that you want to capture it from the syslog. Now, talking about the CLI or REST API configlet, these are predefined configlet. In case if you want to add specific model commands in the template, you do have an option where you can add the commands here in the template. Or for example, this is a modular access router. If you want to export it, make some changes in the command, then you have an option to re-import it back with a different name. All right. So what we have under device template. So if I click on any of the template here, you have different types of commands that you can see, which are predefined one. And if in case you want to do any modification, you can do it. If you want to add any additional commands with the respective topics, you can also add it. For example, this is running configuration. These are a startup configuration, change detection module. So you can add and enter different commands here, and based on that, the commands will get executed in the respective devices. So once you have provided the commands here, the next page is to get the object identifier. This is based on SNMP, and then you do have an option to export it or save it. Okay, you can also query the device based on the SNMP protocol from the query device page, right? So once this is done, once you save the template, this will be available here in the device template. Okay, configuration automation. Similarly, we have a REST API. Shared templates are like within two devices. If you want to share the templates, you do have an option to do it. Now, the other feature is that, like, as I stated, you do have an option to enter the commands, and you can add a template if the template is not available under device templates, that is based on CLI or REST API. Then we have the other feature, which is configlets. So, for example, the configlet help you to do, again, certain operations automatically. These are based on the commands that we have. So we have different modes of execution. So script execution or file transfer or advanced script execution mode. So with the help of these, you can actually enter the configlets content, and configuration backup, you can perform it from here, right? So these are commands, bulk commands that you can execute. For example, if I want to do, let me search like password, bulk password change of a device. So we have a already predefined scripts available wherein you can enter the commands and change the password of those devices in bulk using configurates. Similarly, REST API configurate. So those devices that supports the APIs, based on REST API configurate, we have an option to execute the command on the respective devices, right? Now, once this is done, so we do have an option to capture statistics out of the devices. So taking backup is one primary. If there are any conflict detected, we'll raise a flag under configuration, under the configurate, and we'll alert the user as well. So we do have that option. And in case if you want to compare the commands that were, took during the backup, we do have an option to check the configuration changes. So you do have an option where we show different commands. You can compare it, what differences it is. If you want to see the commands itself, you just need to click on the I symbol. That will fetch the respective configuration commands that were executed, or we took the backup during the schedule scan or manual backup when executed, right? So let me go back. So under this, there are other tabs which we will be discussing. The first important feature that we have is the firmware vulnerabilities. So firmware vulnerability, for this, we require internet connection. The reason is we connect to the NIST database, which is available in the cloud, and then fetch the required CSV and other critical information for depending on the firmware. And you do have an option where we match the CV file with the existing devices, and we show the severity, critical, important, moderate, and low. And based on the CV file number, we show the device count. And when we click on that CV file, it gives us the summary of the CV file details and the devices that are affected with this CV file. Now, these information we can pass on to the respective team member, security team member. They can validate it, and if required, they can upgrade the firmware, right? So that's the core functionality. And apart from that, we do have an option like, you can see the exposed devices based on the CV file. And then we have sync vulnerability DB, which is based on the NIST database. So you do have an option where you can enable that. And manual import is also available in case internet connection is not available. We do have an option where we can manually import those files into the NCM module, and then it will compare the CSV file with the existing devices onboarded in NCM solution, and then it will show you the report, right? So that's the firmware vulnerability. The third core feature that we have is the compliance monitoring. So compliance monitoring in NCM for couple of industrial standard compliance, we monitor it under NCM module. One is the Cisco iOS policy, HIPAA, and SOX. These three are industrial standard compliance. So any violation will show the flag here, and you can click on that violation, see the devices, and for example, this compliance status is not right. We have an option to click on it and see like what violation it is, the host that are violating the compliance. Again, when we click on that compliance status, we see the rules that are being violated, right? And then the user can perform the task so that it complies with the industrial standard policies for Cisco iOS. Now, if a company is following their own organization policies in their company, the user has an option where they can create their own policy details and then associate the devices into the compliance. So we have that option, and that policy we will monitor it from the NCM module under compliance tab, right? So running the compliance, checking if there are any violation, whether it's compliant to the organization policy. So these information we capture it from the compliance. In a nutshell, NCM does the backup, and even you can push the commands to the respective devices. And then we have firmware vulnerability that search for any vulnerable devices, and it will show you what CV file it is and what type of severity, and based on that the security team can take necessary action. And then compliance monitoring. So under the compliance monitoring, we have SOX, Cisco IOS, and HIPAA that can be monitored out of the box. In case if organization have their own policy rules to be monitored, they can add it in the NCM and they can start monitoring that. Now, these are the core key functionalities of Network Configuration Manager, right? Any questions, ladies and gentlemen? Or else we can move on to the other features of NCM module. All right. So I don't think so there are questions in the chat as well. So I'm just looking at the chat. Fine. So let me move on further with the NCM module. So installing the NCM as a standalone, it's pretty straightforward. Just like the Op Manager, you need to download the exe file and install it, right? Now, let's talk about other core features. Like the first one is the dashboard. So again, here we do have option where customer can create their own customized dashboard based on the available widgets that we have. And they can select the widgets and we show the different status depending on what widgets that customer has selected. So by default, we'll have the backup, end of life, firmware, configured changes, etc. So these dashboard are by default available. And then we do have an option. Sorry, let me close this. Yeah, to show the data depending on how the data collection is happen. All right. So going to the other options or settings tab. So there are various types of settings, administrative settings that are available under NCM. We will look at a few of the settings, and in case if there are any questions, please put it in the chat box. Now, so talking about the network discovery, I mentioned that there are three options like individual host, IP range, and CSV file import. And you need to select the credential, SNMP credential, so that based on the SNMP criteria, we do have an option to pull the system description and other SNMP based data. And then discovery report is also there, like in case if the discovery is initiated and you want to see like whether the discovery has completed or not. So we have that option available here. So integration with ServiceNow is also available. So this will show the status of the devices in the network configuration manager. That is, you can integrate ServiceNow, so the devices will get synced to the ServiceNow help desk tool. Sorry, let me go back to settings. And then non-inventory devices, in the sense like these devices are in unknown category, which means the devices like we tried to discover it, but it went into unknown because the credential is not associated to the device. So we do have an option where you can delete these category, and then maybe if in case these are valid IPs, you can re-add it after correcting the credentials. And then we have a separate user management in NCM module. So again, here we have the operator and administrator roles. So similar to the op manager part, we have the option to capture the roles that we, sorry, add the roles and then associate to the devices like common settings, like read, write, access, and network configuration manager. So just give me a second. I'm just looking at the questions. Okay. Configuration version of the devices and how I can roll back the configuration if any error. Okay. I'll show you. Like I'll go into the flow and then I'll let you know how we can show the configuration or push the configuration commands. Now, talking about other administrative options, like we have rebranding, just like the op manager solution, and then mail server setting for triggering the alarm. Under the authentication methodology, we support the Radius, AD, SAML, and two-factor authentication. And in addition to the authenticating the user, in NCM module, we have introduced integration of Password Manager Pro. So Password Manager Pro is available only in NCM module. So this will help the user to integrate with Password Manager Pro and change the device password, from the I'm using the Password Manager Pro. So that option, we have it here with the Password Manager Pro. Okay, I guess there was another question. No, I think one person joined. All right. So now, talking about the schedule option, so we have information where we can add the schedule. So, sorry, there's another chat. No, Koi, if you're typing something, it's not visible. All right, let me proceed, and then if any questions, I'll look at the chat later on. So config automation, we do have an option to schedule this, backup. So here we have an option where you can schedule the backup, daily configuration backup, and startup config, etc. You do have an option to add the schedule, right? So you do have an option to schedule the backup here. Now, the option is that, like under schedule, you can schedule the backup. If any change notification you need to trigger, then you do have an option. So where you can set the notification command, notification profiles here to get the email or trap or syslog or as a ticket using ServiceNow SDP, which can be integrated with the NCM module, right? So we have those options to trigger the notification. Now, the other option that we have is the upload request. So the purpose of upload request is that the roles that you create for accessing the NCM module. So the admin or operator role, here the feature is that just like that, user will not be able to send the commands to the device. First, it has to go through an approval process through the NCM module. The administrator has to approve the request, and then it will get executed to the pushed to the network devices. So we do have an option where we can approved by the super administrator. We can reject the request, and then after verifying the commands, then admin can approve that specific request. So we have that option available here under the upload request option. Right? Any other questions? Yeah, I'm yet to answer the first question, which Wu has asked, like how we can roll back the configuration. I'll touch base that.
Mọi người ai có câu hỏi không ạ? Có thể đặt câu hỏi qua chat nhé.
All right. I don't think so. There are other questions. Yeah, I'll go ahead. So here we have the device configlets, associate to the device. So here you can see the running configlet startup and the authorization that was made. So in case if there are options, unauthorized changes detected in the devices, so you can see like what commands or content it is. And then you do have an option to, save and then close this particular specific commands from the change configuration. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Today I'm not feeling well, so I'll be slow. And in case if you need any information to be repeated, please let me know. Yeah, how I can compare old and new configuration. Yeah, this is what I showed you earlier. Let me first copy the questions that you have asked. So let me. Yeah, second is how I can compare the old and new. Yeah, this I have already showed you, but let me show the option. Is this software can integrate with Service Desk Plus? Yes, I mean, out of the box, we do. So let me show you these two options. So if I go to an inventory, this is going to show me the device details. And if you see here, configlet column, if I click on this specific status where there is configlet detected, for the conflict. So we show the left hand side, right hand side. Left hand side are the one that are already stored in the database, which means the old configuration, and we store it based on the version number. All right. So based on the version number, you can compare the startup config, and right hand side the recent backup that we have took. So you can compare those two configuration, that is old and new, which we have segregated like left hand side and right hand side. So these two you can compare it. Right. So we do have an option to show this specific uh, information. Right now, integrating with Service Desk Plus. So under settings, user and global setting, we have an option where you can integrate with ManageEngine, Service Desk Plus, SDP Cloud, ServiceNow, and even PagerDuty. So these integration options are available, right? So we can integrate with SDP as well. Let me check the. Yeah. I mean, both model we support. As I showed you that, one customer may go with SDP and another customer may go with cloud. So both SDP on-prem and SDP cloud are supported. At a time, I don't think so. A single customer can have both the tool, that is on-prem and cloud. I'm not sure. I have not seen that. So either they may go with SDP on-prem or they may choose SDP cloud. Have you come across any customers who are using both the models, like on-prem as well as cloud? Okay. Okay. So now the under configuration automation, so configlet is the one from which we create the commands and then push it to the devices. So here, if you see, these are the commands that you actually write the content, and then you do have an option to perform the backup. So if I click on save, so this command will get saved, and then you have an option to execute this. And once you click on the execute, then you have an option to select the same value for all devices, and then you have an option to select the groups or individual devices, right? And then you have an option to execute. So this is how you execute the configuration commands to the devices. So device template is available, that is to execute the commands to take the backup, right? And configlet are used to push the configuration commands to the devices. All right. So these two are options available which user can use. So configlet is the one that user will use to push the commands to the network devices. Okay, so you have different commands. As I stated, you can create your own configlet and then execute it or schedule it. Like there are two options. One is manual execution, or you can schedule the configlet commands to be executed. So we have that option available for you, and you can run daily, weekly, hourly, monthly. So these are different options available. So to answer your question, Wu, there are options where you can execute the command using sorry, to push the command using configlets. All right. Okay. Now, talking about the other sections of network configuration, pretty much it is more or less the same. Under Alarms tab, you do have an option to select, clear, acknowledge. You can download it as PDF. So these are like alarms recently triggered from the network devices. And then talking about the tools, these are tools that are useful for customers to execute or do certain basic troubleshooting. So the same tools, more or less, like we have seen it in the Op Manager as well. So these tools are available, which user can make use, like terminal, connecting to the terminal, ping tools, address monitoring, SNMP tools. So these tools are available wherein user can see if the functional, the device can be reachable or not. So the workflow option is also available in NetFlow Analyzer. So under workflow, there are a few commands which user can do. For example, device, they can ping, trace route, etc. And then NCM action, like they can take backup or execute a command or execute a template. So we have an option where user can choose the configlets here in the workflow. So if they want to perform certain operations, in case, for example, if there are conflict detected, roll back the previous version to the network devices. So they can use this template and choose that specific template here, and then automatically it will roll back to the previous version, and then you can troubleshoot and see if the commands were executed properly, if the commands which were executed originally was correct or not. So you can perform that task later on. Under reports, we have different types of reports which user can pull. Like network report is firmware inventory based on firmware vulnerability, device status, health status, and then we have the configuration report like startup running configuration. If there are any configuration changes happen, what type of device and what changes made, like authorized or unauthorized reports. Likewise, vulnerability and other report, mostly like important report is the end of life, end of support report that we fetch from the devices. So this commonly will be asked from the customers. So if they ask like, can I pull end of life or end of support report? So yes, we do have an option from the network configuration manager. For that, the device, the sysoid mapping should be there under network configuration manager. For the SNMP credential has to be enabled for that device. So that's one of the prerequisite, I would say. And OID mapping should be proper. So once that is done, we will able to pull that information from the end devices, and then we can map it with the tool. Or if you want to sync the end of life, end of support from the devices, we do have an option from the tool itself. So this will help the customers to plan, identify the devices that are reaching out their life or support, and then take necessary action. So this is one of the important report, I would say, apart from other reports. We also have advanced report, like pulling out some important reports based on criterias. We do have an option to pull that from the using the advanced report feature from the reports tab. Any other questions?
Nhà mình có ai có câu hỏi nào không ạ? Nếu không có thì ta sẽ tiếp tục. Seva, please go ahead.
Okay. Now, like the tool can help to push the command, even if a customer would like to push any firmware updates from the network configuration manager, they can also do it via the NCM. So we have an option called as TFTP mode, through which device, you have to place the file under the remote location, that is using the TFTP protocol. We should be able to execute and push that file to the respective network devices. So we do have an option for that as well. So we have the feature to push the firmware upgrades as well from the NCM module. So these are the core functionalities of NCM, which can perform, management part for the devices, where you can take backup, push commands to the devices. You can take the firmware vulnerability reports, and you can also pull the compliance report from the network configuration manager, right? So these are the core functionalities that you can do it from network configuration manager. Uh, any other questions, ladies and gentlemen? If not, I can proceed with NetFlow Analyzer. Yeah. Let me see the chat. Okay. So, see, ladies and gentlemen, like the discussion that I am doing on the tool, it will help you to understand the tool capabilities, and then you will have an option to place these tools in front of the customers, so that once they ask the core key functionality, you will be able to answer it. But there are other functionalities within the tool. Any tool that you take, once you start using the tool, you will get to know the other core functionalities. Okay. So my primary objective of this training is to provide you the functionalities, capabilities, and list of features, core features that we have under each tool, so that it will help you to get started, position the tool properly to the end customer. That will help you to win new business, as well as if you are concentrating on cross business, you can also push these tools to the customers. This we will discuss in detail in tomorrow's session once we complete the firewall analyzer. So in the second half, in tomorrow's session, we'll be discussing that. So few key important points we can discuss further. So now let's jump into the NetFlow Analyzer module. Okay. NetFlow Analyzer module, it's a bit different tool. The architecture is slightly different compared to the other monitoring tool that we have seen. So if you take Op Manager, Applications Manager, or Network Configuration Manager, the connection is from the tool, it will connect to the device and then collect the necessary data. But whereas the NetFlow Analyzer that we have, it will actually, the data will be pushed from the network interfaces. Okay. So based on the flow packets, so we support major flow vendors like NetFlow, sorry, NetFlow, AppFlow, IPFix, so JFlow. So these types of flows we support in NetFlow Analyzer. So what we do here is we capture the flow packets, we read the content of the flow, and then present the user with meaningful information, right? So there are different options under settings. Like one is that you can export the flow from the tool itself. Like you have different predefined flow commands which you can provide, and then associate to the devices. And, and then this command will get executed, and in turn the respective device will start sending the flow packet to the NetFlow Analyzer module. So we have predefined flows available, or even if you want to add a custom flow, you do have an option to provide it. Okay, so you can open the terminal and start providing the commands there. So two options are there. One is predefined flow export commands, which you can perform, or custom flow packet by connecting to the terminal and then executing the command. Or the third option is that you can directly connect the end device via PuTTY and then execute the command, which will start exporting the flow from the end devices. Right. So under the settings, we have the flow packet command. Even for Meraki, in case any cloud devices that can support exporting of flow based on these technologies, you can very well monitor that in NetFlow Analyzer, right? And when you use the NetFlow Analyzer as a standalone, there are other add-ons which you can use, like NCM and Opitals module. So these modules, you can use it. It depends on, like, whether the customer needs NCM as well as NetFlow and Opitals. You can ask them to install NetFlow and then enable the NCM and IPAM module, right? So these options are there. So I'm not going to touch these tabs because this we have already discussed. Now, under discovery, as I stated, flow is slightly different. And then we have the basic settings, like you can set the time zone, geolocation, IP resolutions, etc. So these will help us to generate the report based on the machine where it is installed. All right. Now, let me first show you the data that we capture, and then we'll discuss about the other settings, right? So under inventory, as soon as the device starts sending the flow packet, will automatically gather what device type it is. Okay, since the NetFlow Analyzer is based on interfaces, we can tell the customer that you can enable the flow packet from the required interface, not from all the interface, because in a 24 port switch, or 12 port switch, or routers, it is enough to monitor the uplink and downlink. So those two ports are enough to monitor. Rest of the port, it is connected to the device, so maybe it is not mandatory for the customers to monitor those types of port. So usually customer will monitor the input and output from the switch or router. So once the flow packet is received, we auto categorize the device, and within each device, we also show you the interfaces from where we are actually getting the flow packet. Now, first, let me show you what are all the data that we show for a specific device. Okay. So under the device, you can see the traffic, that is max, average, the volume, the flow details triggered from the device, the interfaces, like dropped flows, then template details, like if there are any template associated, we show the details here under NetFlow module. And then traffic, the interfaces from where we are receiving the flow, you can click on volume, utilization, or speed. Based on that, the data will change. So for example, right now it's speed, it's showing you the in traffic and out traffic, the applications that are running, the source IPs, like the source IP, and if you want to see the geolocation or resolve IP, you can do that. And then destination, where it is reaching the traffic, the quality of service we provide, and then conversation, like consolidated report of the source, destination, what application it is using, and the total traffic. We provide you these information. Now the ASView, security, cloud services, etc. These are additional tabs. So depending on the type of devices, we show the data in this tab. So if a device supports ASView, we show the AS details in terms of organization name, in traffic, out traffic. If cloud services are enabled, we'll show those categories here. Now, this is device based. Now, if I want to see interface related statistics, I can go to the specific interface from this device page. That will take us to the interface page that is gigabit Ethernet page. And here we show the in capacity, out capacity, the traffic from that specific interface we show, the speed, volume, utilization. These data we show here under traffic page. Similarly, application tab, the applications that are consuming traffic, application in the sense, not the generic applications that usually we work, like Facebook, Gmail, etc. That falls under layer 7, and only those devices that supports nbar, we show that information. So you can see the nbar tab here. So the devices that supports nbar, like Cisco devices, we show the layer 7 applications like Facebook or YouTube or uh, Gmail, etc. We show the traffic of those applications. Now, when I go to the source, this will show me the source, the traffic consumed by the source, and I can click on that specific IP. It will take me to that one IP, and what are all the destination that it is connected to, the source, protocol, traffic consumed by that source, and then the destination IPs where it is reaching. So these information we can pull it out from the source tab. Similarly, destination tab, from where I'm getting the traffic from the which source, I will able to pull it out using the destination tab. Similarly, quality of service, and then conversation, like consolidated report of source, destination, what application, protocol, and the traffic consumed by it, we will able to pull that information. Talking about the reports, like manually you can pull traffic report. For example, we have data points here, like 1 minute polling, 5 minutes, or 15 minutes. We have an option to pull the report based on, like, you can schedule the report, as well as you can manually pull that report either in PDF or CSV format. So we have that option available here. So I was saying nbar, like layer 7, if nbar is enabled, mostly it's in Cisco devices, we show the layer 7 application. Similarly, the CBQS, ASView, multicast, MediaNet, all these tab, based on the type of devices, it will get enabled in the NetFlow analyzer. If the device doesn't support these details or the features, we will not be showing these tabs here. So CBQS, ASView information, and under ASView, if you click on any of the AS name, this will show us the source, destination, traffic information for that specific AS group. And then multicast, MediaNet, volume, speed, utilization. So those packet we show under the multicast or MediaNet details. We show that information, right? Any questions so far?
Nhà mình có ai có câu hỏi không ạ?
Ladies and gentlemen, just give me 2 minutes. I'll drink some water and get back to you. Okay. Meantime, if you have any questions, please put it in the chat. All right. So I'm back. Yeah. Now let's talk about some core important features in NetFlow Analyzer. So I've showed you how we show the data. So it is purely based on flow packets. What we are receiving in the flow, we parse that information and show it in the NetFlow Analyzer. So similar to Op Manager, we have dashboards where you can create a dashboard of your choice. Like you can create custom dashboard and select the required widgets that we have in the NetFlow Analyzer module. and then we show that details here in the dashboard. Similarly, alarms tab, so recent alarms that are getting triggered depending on the violation, we show the details here in the alarms tab. Maps, at the moment we have Google Map and Zoho Map alone in NetFlow Analyzer, and when you use it within Op Manager, what are all the core advantages we have, that we will discuss in tomorrow when we discuss on the addition part, and what are all the key advantage when you use it as an integrated solution. Probably if I have some time today, I'll show you, because NCM NetFlow and Op Manager, once integrated together, you will have those details in the Op Manager itself, right? So I'll show you that part as well, right? And then reports. So report is one of the major I would say important features in the NetFlow Analyzer. Similarly, we have DPI feature, deep packet inspection feature available, that will help the user for doing some forensic analysis, right? So we have these options. So security is also another module within NetFlow Analyzer. So we call it as ASAM, Advanced Security Module within NetFlow Analyzer. So let me first finish off with the report part. So there are different reports, but let me touch base some important reports that one can use. One is the forensic report. So in the forensic report, if a user would like to do some search for a specific interface or a specific uh, device and interfaces, we have that option. So for example, if I have this if I want to do some search on Facebook, so I have an option to select the filters, and based on that I can generate the report. So in this report, what we show is the under the forensic, for that interface, the Facebook application, what it consume, like what traffic, application source, destination, where it is reaching, the TSP flag, the next hop details, the conversation, and multicast media net. So these will help the customers to do certain forensic analysis based on this report. Uh, Talking about the next type of report, capacity planning. Capacity planning, as the name suggests, this will help us to understand if there are any need to increase the bandwidth in the company. Usually we can use the tool to see where the traffic is utilized based on nbar, if it is Facebook or YouTube, where the traffic is utilized, and it's n- you're not able to allocate to some other business critical, user can go ahead and disable the Facebook or YouTube in their infrastructure. But similarly, the capacity planning report will help them to understand if we need to provide or we need to purchase bandwidth in future or not. So capacity planning report and forecast report. So this both report can help them to understand if they need to increase the bandwidth or not. So we do have an option where we can project the growth trend depending on the forecast and show the utilization pattern of the bandwidth in the customer's environment. Similarly, billing. So billing will help them to see like how much of amount that user is spending on a specific bill. So this report will help them to gather that information, and then help them to understand the cost involved in the bandwidth. So we have the billing report options available, right? So any other questions in terms of NetFlow Analyzer? So talking about the ASM module in NetFlow Analyzer, so let me click on the security. I'm sorry, at the moment. um, Okay, let me give you the theoretical explanation of the ASAM, Advanced Security Analytics module. So what it does is, the module offers some intelligence report based on broad spectrum of external and internal security threats. And with security analytics module and anomaly detection, a user can identify top offenders, so like DDoS attack or any other attack like flow, suspected flow, or bad source destination. So these types of major problem we can identify using advanced security module within NetFlow Analyzer, right? So this we have to enable in the NetFlow, and we have an option where user can enable the advanced security module within NetFlow Analyzer. So we have an option where user can enable the attack module within the NetFlow Analyzer, right? So usually by default it will be there, but a user can very well choose this option to enable that. Security analytics.
So please.
Yeah, Vu, you are about to ask
for the device that not support flow, or how can we monitor the flow through interface of this device for not support flow device?
You mean you wanted to monitor the flow for the devices, even if the device doesn't support flow?
Yes. Some device is not support style of flow. So how can we monitor their interface?
Okay, we have a concept called as NetFlow generator. So NetFlow generator, it's kind of a free tool within NetFlow Analyzer. So what it does is it captures the raw packet from the devices where there are no support of NetFlows. So kind of a raw packet, we capture it and then translate them into NetFlow packet through NetFlow generator module. Right, so we have that option, and we have a packet sensor for it. So this a small kind of an agent. You have to install this generator in the machine. So this generator will capture the details and then convert that as a NetFlow packets and send it to the device. NetFlow Analyzer module. So again, then we read the flow packet and then present the available information generated from that devices. So the answer is yes, we can do it.
So this is about the question about the protocol. NetFlow is one protocol. Maybe because it came from Cisco, so maybe we can also monitor the Juniper and many other router as well. Is the question okay?
This I already answered when I started the session. I stated that we support most of the vendors like NetFlow, JFlow, IPFix, AppStream. So these are the flow technologies which we support out of the box. I was talking about the device that don't support the flow at all. For that also, we have a concept called as NetFlow generator. So using the NetFlow generator, there is a small exe file which we have to install, kind of an agent. So the agent will convert the raw packet generated from that devices, and then it will convert it as NetFlow packets. So both options are there. Do you understand?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you. Vũ hiểu điều này đúng không Vũ? Hello Vũ.
Okay, I have got it.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So options are there, right? So I guess I answered the question, but let me copy this question. So at the end of the training, I'll just consolidate all the questions that were asked in the chat, and then I will answer it. And ladies and gentlemen, in case if I missed out any of the important point, I'll just make a note of those, and then if time permits, I'll cover that as well in tomorrow's session, right? So today I'll be
Sure.
covering most important, and then if anything is left out, to my knowledge, I'll be covering most of the topics. In case if I left out with any of the topics, I'll cover it tomorrow or maybe at later stage. All right.
Okay, sure.
So
And then we also will send you email later as well. Thank you.
sure. So you also can consolidated the questions that your team member has, and you can send that as well. So both ways we will work and make sure you get all the questions answered, right? So let me continue with the module, that is a security module we have to enable. Then we have the problems or options available. These are predefined problems that you can select and enable for monitoring. So based on the algorithm, predefined algorithm that we have, user can actually select and then enable the list, right? At the moment there are no option where you can add any algorithms here. That if there are any requirement, please feel free to reach us out. We'll take that as a feature enhancement. So options are available and thresholds like you can provide. So algorithm, if upper limit like 1000, so you have an option where you can set the upper limit, and based on that the alarms will get triggered in the NetFlow Analyzer module. So security analytics is under the ASAM module, right? And then now there are different auditing tools available for the tools which users are using. So this audit report is available in most of the ITOM solutions, where you can see the access, like the operator role or the administrator role that you're creating, what they have did, what operations that they have did. So all these auditing roles will be capturing under audit reports. Now let me take back you to the op manager and show you when you use it as an integrated tool for the op manager, uh, how the details will look like, right? So let me touch base it. So in op manager, once you have the NetFlow module, that is the flow analysis and config NCM module enabled, along with the IPAM module. Uh, Initially, when you suggest op manager with NCM module, what we have is under discovery itself, we have a discovery settings. So in case if you want the router and switch automatically to be added in NCM module or in IPAM module, we have this option available. So once you enable it, the router and switch will get added in op manager as well as in NCM module. So in one discovery itself, you have an option to add those devices. Now, if I go to any of the router or switch in op manager, you are monitoring the system performance, but also you can see the tabs like NCM tab. So if there are any configuration details that you have to see, there is no need for you to go to the network and then config management. Instead, you can just click on that router NCM tab. It will show you the NCM data, or NetFlow tab. It will also show you the NetFlow information, right? So that's an added advantage when you use it as an integrated solution, right? Going back to the NetFlow analyzer, let me see if any important points I need to share with you guys. Yeah, so this is about different types of datas that we show in NetFlow Analyzer. Any questions? I'll wait for a few seconds and then talk about different settings that we have in NetFlow Analyzer. Okay. So I showed you the data part. Like once we start getting the flow, we show the data in NetFlow Analyzer. Now let's talk about some administrative settings. A few of them are common, like user management. You can create operator role or guest role in NetFlow Analyzer. Authentication model is available like Radius, AD, two-factor. You do have an option to rebrand, and then database backup, like if you want to enable the backup, you have an option to do it from the NetFlow module when you use it as a standalone. Now, yeah, I guess yeah, you can create groups like device groups. You can create. We have an option where you can create interface-based groups or IP-based groups. Application groups you can create, like business critical app, you can put it in one, and then select the available apps into one particular group. So I showed you the application tab, right? So those groups are like where here is where you create those groups. So for example, if I go to any of the interface, you have this application, right? So these are the application groups which are already there in the NetFlow Analyzer module. So once you create that, those groups will be available here. So that's the group settings. So there are different groups type that you can create in NetFlow Analyzer. Talking about the mapping part, under the mapping, we have an option like, you can map the port and protocol to an application, right? So based on application, based on services, you do have an option to map the services, right? So we have that option available. Another important point in Op Manager, I showed you the NetFlow NCM, right? Similarly, under maps, when you create a business view for for an environment, when you create a link between the two devices, do you see the link? So when you integrate NetFlow, so you do have an option wherein you can actually select not only, sorry, let me just drag and drop and create a link between these two devices. Yeah, so here you can actually select the Op Manager interfaces based on SNMP. We will also show you NetFlow also. If you have integrated, you can actually select the NetFlow interfaces between the two devices. So that feature, we have given it here under Op Manager to create a business view. So this will help the user to actually monitor the link between the two devices based on flow packets. Okay, that's in the Op Manager. This is for your information. Let me go back to the NetFlow Analyzer for you. So mapping you can do between the services or applications that we have. We have alert profiles. The alert profile or alert mechanism in NetFlow Analyzer will work differently compared to the Op Manager or NCM part. So here, what we have is the option based on criteria. So based on criteria, you have an option to set the alarm. So for example, in traffic, out traffic, and if you want to add how the utilization, or whether it's based on utilization or volume or speed or packet, you can define, for example, greater than 80. If it is, 2 times, I want to, and within 10 minutes, if the bandwidth is high, I want to set it as critical, and then choose the email or SMS based alarm. Similarly, you can go on adding the criteria. So the alert notification profile in NetFlow Analyzer is based on criteria which we provided to the customers. Okay, so compared to the NetFlow, Op Manager, it is slightly different, the alert profiles that we have. And the license for NetFlow Analyzer is based on flow packets. So number of interfaces that you have enabled. So based on the number of interface, we calculate the license for NetFlow Analyzer. Again, the licensing, the addition part, we will cover tomorrow for larger audience. Any other questions? Yeah, this is what I was talking about, the network packet sensor, the network generator. So this is kind of an tool that you have to install it. So the packet sensor will collect or convert the raw packet from the device, convert it as a NetFlow, and then send it to NetFlow Analyzer 2. So this is what I was talking about. So kind of an agent that you have to install it on a different machine. So I believe I've touched based almost most of the important topics. In case if you have any questions, please raise it in the chat. I'll be happy to answer it. Similarly, as I mentioned, in case if I have left out with few important points, I'll try to cover it tomorrow, or get the questions. Maybe organize another half an hour session, probably next week, to cover those topics which I have missed in case. All right. Yeah. So any questions, team?
I think it is very clear now for us.
Okay. So usually, like, once you access the tool, start looking at different options, you may get different questions. So at that time, either you can reach us out directly, or probably, like, if you're accessing it, you can raise it as a chat. For simple question, you can raise it as a chat. The team will be able to answer it. Otherwise, if you have a list of questions to be answered, just drop me an email. I'll consolidate the question and answer it, clear the doubts.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Cả nhà mình nếu không có câu hỏi gì thì cô để cho bạn ấy nghỉ ngơi nhỉ, vì hôm nay bạn hơi mệt.
Ok, nghỉ ngơi thôi.
No further question.
Okay, we have no further question for now, and thank you very much, Sava.
Thank you, team. So let me first stop the recording here.